You're listening to the N2K Space Network.
Imagine this. Your primary identity provider goes down, whether it's a cloud outage, network issue, or even a cyber attack. Suddenly, your business grinds to a halt. But what if it didn't have to? Meet Identity Continuity from Strata, the game-changing solution that keeps your business running smoothly no matter what. Whether your cloud IDP crashes or your on-prem system faces a hiccup, Identity Continuity seamlessly shifts authentication to a secondary or even tertiary IDP, automatically and without disruption. Powered by the Mavericks Identity Orchestration Platform, Identity Continuity uses smart health checks to monitor your IDP's availability and instantly activates failover strategies tailored to your needs. When the coast is clear, it's a seamless switch back. No more downtime, no lost revenue, no frustrated customers. Just continuous, secure access to your critical applications every single time. Protect your business from the high costs of IDP outages. With Identity Continuity from Strata, downtime is a thing of the past. Visit strata.io/cyberwire to learn how Strata's Identity Continuity can provide seamless enhanced capabilities to your existing identity fabric and receive a free set of AirPods Pro.
I am back from the Beyond Earth Institute's symposium, which was held in Washington, D.C. at American University. It was a really thought-provoking 2 days. And the theme of the event was the space industry at a crossroads. The new incoming U.S. administration, all the technical innovations, the opportunities, and the challenges. Some seemingly out of nowhere and some, sadly, that seemed inevitable. Like the news from Boeing today.
T-minus 20 seconds to LOS egress. Go for deploy. Roger roll.
Today is November 14th, 2024. I'm Maria Varmazis, and this is T-minus. Boeing to lay off 10% of its global workforce. Starfish raises $29 million in new capital. Lunar Outpost closes a Series A funding round. And our guest today is Grammy award-winning composer and producer Brent Fischer. Brent will be talking to me about bridging the gap between what space professionals know and what the public thinks they know about space. It's a fascinating perspective, so tune in for the second half of the show for more on that. Let's take a look at our Thursday Intel briefing, shall we? This certainly wasn't what we wanted to lead on for 2 days in a row, but layoffs are a very serious matter in the space industry at the moment. Yesterday, we were talking about the cuts at JPL, which affected over 300 people, and today we are talking about 17,000 people globally that are expected to be impacted by layoffs at aerospace giant Boeing. Of course, those layoffs will impact more than just the space sector of the company. The cuts are expected to impact executives, managers, and employees. However, workers who build aircraft are not expected to be laid off. The cuts at Boeing follow billions of lost revenue over the past 5 years and a number of crises across their aerospace and space sectors. Those who receive notifications are expected to leave the company by January 17th, 2025. Our sympathies to all who are affected. Starfish Space has closed a $29 million funding round. The Washington-based startup says it'll use the new capital to support the development of its first 3 Otter orbiting servicing vehicles for missions that serve the U.S. Space Force, NASA, and Intelsat. The completion of this round brings Starfish's total funding to date to over $50 million, allowing the company to grow to a team of 70 employees at its headquarters in Washington. The company's first 2 Otter missions for Intelsat and the U.S. Space Force will launch to geostationary orbit in 2026 and begin providing services to client satellites thereafter. Lunar Outpost has also closed a Series A funding round. The lunar exploration company did not disclose the amount that it had raised. Lunar Outpost is working on multiple missions to the moon, with the first voyage heading to the lunar South Pole as part of Intuitive Machines' IM-2 mission, scheduled to launch in the coming months. The U.S. Space Development Agency, also known as SDA, announced the first opportunity for industry to provide input for Tranche 3 of the Proliferated Warfighter Space Architecture, or the PWSA. SDA has released a draft request for proposals for the Tranche 3 integration effort of the PWSA for solutions to address systems engineering and integration activities necessary to facilitate the delivery of T3 tracking layer, T3 transport layer, and T3 custody layer, and their integration with the PWSA ground segment and user segment to advance the operational PWSA. The SDA asks respondents to answer specific questions and provide a technical description of a notional PWSA T3 program integration solution by noon Eastern Time on November 25th, 2024. China has launched a satellite for ocean salinity detection. A Long March 4B Y-53 carrier rocket launched the satellite into the preset orbit, and the satellite known as Ocean 401 will fill the gap in China's high-precision global ocean salinity detection capabilities. Its mission is to enhance the country's ability to collect data on ocean dynamic environmental factors, improve the accuracy and quality of marine forecasting products, and meet operational needs in areas such as marine environment forecasting, marine ecological forecasting, water cycle monitoring, short-term climate prediction, and global climate change research. The satellite will also support soil moisture measurements, providing essential data for applications in marine industries, agriculture, disaster mitigation, meteorology, and other related sectors. India is making moves into the space habitat and analog studies market. The nation's space agency, ISRO, is partnering with Protoplanet to do collaborative research in habitat design, analog studies, microgravity research, and astrobiology work. As part of the partnership, Protoplanet is managing Spaceward Bound India 2025, which includes a scientific expedition to Ladakh. Ladakh is a mountainous region in the north of India, known as the lands beyond the Himalaya. The 12-day field program aims to advance space exploration research while training the next generation of space scientists. U.S.-based venture capital firm Hemisphere Ventures is opening a new office in Singapore. The venture capital and consulting firm is known for its early-stage investments in space, cybersecurity, biotech, nanotech, drones, robotics, and other frontier technologies. Hemisphere says the new Singapore office enables engagement in the region and allows the firm to connect startups with international markets. NASA Administrator Bill Nelson is in Peru. Nelson met with Major General Roberto Melgar-Sheen, director of Peru's National Commission for Aerospace Research and Development, also known as CONIDA, to sign a non-binding memorandum of understanding to enhance space cooperation. The Memorandum of Understanding between NASA and CONIDA will include safety training, a joint feasibility study for a potential sounding rockets campaign, and technical assistance for CONIDA on sounding rocket launches. Crossbow Systems and Texas State University have announced a cooperative research agreement aimed at testing and validating solid rocket motor technology for expanded manufacturing. Texas State University will assist Crossbow in constructing a solid rocket motor, or SRM, test facility on the Freeman Center Research Facility in San Marcos. These test and validation capabilities will complement those that Crossbow has already established at their facility in Luling, Texas, including testing of larger SRMs that Crossbow is currently developing for the U.S. Navy's Conventional Prompt Strike and the U.S. Army's Long-Range Hypersonic Weapon Systems. And by the way, we are just days away from the next Starship test flight. SpaceX rolled out its Super Heavy rocket to the pad yesterday in Boca Chica ahead of the sixth flight of the Starship. The vehicle has a new addition for this flight. A bright yellow banana has been added to the rocket for scale. Yes, the memes continue. SpaceX is aiming to launch the Starship on November 18th. And that concludes today's briefing. Head to the selected reading section of our show notes for further reading on all of the stories mentioned today. You'll also find an additional story on Mettel becoming an authorized Starlink reseller. Hey, T-Minus crew, if your business is looking to grow your voice in the industry, expand the reach of your thought leadership, or recruit talent, T-Minus can help. We'd love to hear from you. Send us an email at space@n2k.com or send us a note through our website so we can connect about building a program to meet your goals.
Now, a word from our sponsor. The Johns Hopkins University Information Security Institute is currently seeking qualified applicants for its innovative Master of Science in Security Informatics degree program. Study alongside world-class interdisciplinary experts and gain unparalleled educational, research, and professional experience in information security and assurance. Interested U.S. citizens should consider the NSF's Scholarship for Service program or the DoD's Cyber Scholarship program. Both scholarships cover tuition, required fees, university-sponsored health insurance, and provide more than $30,000 in an additional annual stipend. Apply for these scholarships to start in the fall semester at cs.jhu.edu/MSSI.
Our guest today is Grammy Award-winning music composer and producer Brent Fischer. And by the way, Brent has just received another Grammy nomination for co-producing Alkebulan 2 by artist Matt B. in the Best Global Music Album category. Congratulations, Brent. And as an artist, Brent has long been inspired by space, and he spoke to me about bridging the gap between what space professionals know and what the public thinks they know about space.
I like to say that I exist at the intersection of science, art, math, and music. By profession, I am a Grammy-winning producer, composer, arranger. I've been in the music industry for a long time. However, that was because my father was also a Grammy-winning producer, composer, arranger. And so I just followed in his footsteps. I didn't realize there was anything other to do. Had I not been born into the music industry, I probably would be working at JPL or SpaceX or someplace like that right now, because my interest was always in math and science from the beginning. And when you think about it, music is a very scientific endeavor, and it does involve a lot of calculating. And especially when I'm writing for a large orchestra, there are tremendous amounts of calculations that go on. And I've always been interested in the space program. I am connected with a lot of people in the space industry for many years now. I try and help facilitate connections between people in the space industry that may not have met each other, and also to be a purveyor of outside-the-box ideas for people in the space industry, because I'm not constrained by the technology and the engineering and the physics that they have to deal with when I come up with an idea. And then also I like to help people in the space industry to, for lack of a better term, market the the great work that they're doing.
I love that. Brent, well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And you are definitely speaking my language, because I feel like what you're speaking about is something I am very personally interested in. And I love getting perspectives like yours, where you have such a fascinating view of so many different worlds in such depth. And I really would love to just pick your brain on, especially since a lot of our listeners are in the space industry. For lack of better terminology, what are we getting wrong in terms of how we are talking to the broader public about, we're clearly not doing something right. So what are we getting wrong, and what should we be doing differently?
That's a great question, and I don't pretend to have all the answers, but I can just give you my perspective, because I'm sort of I've got one hand in both areas, and I would say that the big message that needs to come across to people who are just flipping through Instagram or something like that is the immediate relevance to their life. Why is it important? How is it going to benefit people on Earth? I'm looking at the space industry stuff more on LinkedIn than on Instagram. But that's just me because I like how we can get a little more technical and scientific. And even though sometimes it goes over my head, I can start looking up terms. And I'm hoping that other people are doing this too. But I think maybe some people need a little more hand holding on this. But I love to see when people make a post that I did this part on this launch, and I'm happy to see it all come out okay. But again, if there is a way to really cut through to immediate relevance to the average person, if there were a way to get the point through to those people as well, I think then that would trickle on up into the parents and also people in their late 20s, early 30s as they got older and started going along with this mentality of this is seriously positive stuff that is happening.
The question that I wanted to ask, especially given, you are an amazing musician and that is simplifying things hugely, but you understand how one communicates with the heart. And that I feel like that the emotional connection is often missing in the conversation when a lot of space people talk about space. And I wanted to get your perspective on maybe that appeal to emotion, which sometimes is said in a derogatory way. But things can seem very robotic from the space world of talking about these stories. And for some reason, people just cannot get excited about these things unless they're already sort of a space nerd. How do we make emotion cool from the space world? Maybe that's my question.
Right. No, that makes sense. And by all means, I think there are some people that are doing some great work out there, getting the public involved and getting people excited. I mean, like for instance, I've been a member of the Planetary Society for many, many decades now, and I think that's sort of a good place for people who are not actually, directly in the space or sciences. I see people doing good things out there. What we need to do here is something that would not only increase participation for children growing up that might be interested in engineering or something that could lead to a space industry career path at some point, but also that just getting these kids interested. How do you do that in the first place, right?
Yeah.
And I saw somebody had put a post. I've always been an advocate for STEAM rather than STEM.
Indeed,
because
yes.
I feel like if you include the arts, you help these sort of the gray areas. You help people function in gray areas. It helps with. They say that music will help your math capabilities,
It definitely did for me personally. I mean, for a
Yeah.
lot of us who struggled with math, I think music was so key for that. Yeah. Now, I really want to talk about you also and the amazing things that you have done. And to me, how space can inspire so many, including incredible artists like yourself. I would love to know a bit about your work and how, space has inspired you in your creations and your work.
Well, I was always interested in actually STEM. While I was being an artist, my goal was to sort of create sonic architecture that could be admired on an intuitive level by people who didn't have any training, but for the people who did have the training, they could go in and listen to stuff and just sort of be amazed. Because when I'm amazed by something very, very detailed, like let's say if I'm, again, I don't want to spend too much time on orchestral music, but that's probably some of the most complicated music that there is. I also, played in rock bands and jazz bands. I've done pop gigs, the works. I a couple of the Grammy awards that I've been a part, contributed to. Those are in the field of R&B. So I've done a little bit of everything here. But when you're dealing with a large orchestral, like a large orchestral piece that somebody has written, and it's really well constructed, I feel like that's the same type of rush as I compare it to sort of unlocking the secrets of quantum mechanics and the nature of the universe.
Yes.
And I think these things can be related if we look a little deeper into how they're all put together. So that's what I was thinking about all the time as I was making music, and that manifested itself in numerous different ways. Like I said, I have never stuck to just one style or another.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who know me, for example, only as a jazz big band leader. There are other people who know me for the work that I've done in the Latin jazz field, and I've won a Grammy also in the Latin jazz areas. But I've also played in plenty of rock bands. I enjoy heavy metal as much as I enjoy, a jazz trio. For me, it's not so much the style or the genre, it's the creativity, right? Creativity can manifest itself in any form. A good idea is a good idea, and then the rest is just the packaging. So, there is quite often, I think one of the things that when people get to know some of the music that I've worked on that makes my music a little more recognizable than other people who are, let's say, just sticking to one genre, is that I will take ideas from one genre. I'll take a great idea that I heard in a jazz song, and I'll put that in a pop setting or vice versa. And so I'm not just getting my ideas. I'm not just let's say a rock guy who's getting all of his rock and roll ideas from other rock bands. I might get an idea from an EDM, like a dance electronica tune, and put that into a rock song, or put it into a classical piece that I'm working on for a string orchestra. So and that's because the building blocks of all this stuff is universal, and so is the nature of the universe.
We'll be right back.
Quick question. Do your end users always, and I mean always without exception, work on company-owned devices and IT-approved apps? I didn't think so. So my next question is, how do you keep your company's data safe when it's sitting on all those unmanaged apps and devices? 1Password has an answer to this question: Extended Access Management. 1Password Extended Access Management helps you secure every sign-in for every app on every device, because it solves the problems traditional IAM and MDM can't touch. And it's now available to companies with Okta and Microsoft Entra, and in beta for Google Workspace customers. Check it out at onepassword.com/cyberwire. That's onepassword.com/cyberwire.
Welcome back. A little ending story for our bibliophiles in the audience today. The Booker Prize is the UK's top award to the best sustained work of fiction written in English that is published in the UK and Ireland. And this year's winner of the Booker Prize goes to novelist Samantha Harvey for her work called Orbital. Here's the pitch for the novel. 6 astronauts rotate in the International Space Station. They are there to do vital work, but slowly they begin to wonder, what is life without Earth? What is Earth without humanity? Together, they watch their silent blue planet circling it 16 times, spinning past continents, and cycling through seasons, taking in glaciers and deserts, the peaks of mountains and the swells of oceans. Endless shows of spectacular beauty witnessed in a single day. Yet although separated from the world, they cannot escape its constant pull. News reaches them of the death of a mother, and with it comes thoughts of returning home. They look on as a typhoon gathers over an island and people they love, in awe of its magnificence and fearful of its destruction. The fragility of human life fills their conversations, their fears, their dreams. So far from Earth, they have never felt more part or protective of it. It sounds like an outstanding read that reflects so much of what many of us have learned in listening to astronauts' stories and reflections on their time in space. Now, the novel Orbital is only 136 pages long, so not a long read, and it sounds like something I definitely need to add to my list. Any work that's a meditation on our perception of Earth, thanks to the overview effect, as Frank White coined it, sounds like a very worthy winner. And did you know that Orbital marks the very first time in the history of the Booker Prize that the winning work takes place in space? And this is only the 5th time since the Booker Prize's inception in 1969 that a woman has won this award. I honestly found both factoids there a bit surprising. Regardless, congratulations to Samantha Harvey on her well-deserved achievement. She won £50,000 in a cash prize, with which she says she's going to buy a very nice new bicycle. Enjoy the ride, Miss Harvey. And that's it for T-Minus for November 14th, 2024, brought to you by N2K Cyberwire. For additional resources from today's report, check out our show notes at space.n2k.com. And we're privileged that N2K and podcasts like T-Minus are part of the daily routine of many of the most influential leaders and operators in the public and private sector, from the Fortune 500 to many of the world's preeminent intelligence and law enforcement agencies. This episode was produced by Alice Carruth. Our associate producer is Liz Stokes. We are mixed by Elliot Peltzman and Trey Hester, with original music by Elliot Peltzman. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Our executive editor is Brandon Karpf. Simone Petrella is our president, Peter Kilpie is our publisher, and I am your host, Maria Varmazis. Thanks for listening. We'll see you tomorrow.